Hello friends, my name is Shivam from DevOps Schools and I will help you to enable your learning process in various technologies of DevOps, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data and many more. This is our initiative to help you by sharing multiple tutorials and videos. And if you want any specific tutorials on any particular topic, then please do comment in the below comment section and I will help you with it. Also, please subscribe to our premium services on YouTube, which will give you access to more content and videos to enhance your knowledge about all these topics. Also, if you want me to help you with regards to the online trainings and classroom sessions by our qualified trainers, then please do write me at contact@devopsschool.com. Thank you.
Why we are using function? Simple. Concept is simple. Function means it is doing something. It's functioning something. In the world of programming, there is one concept which we have called reusing. So you want some functions to be performing every time. Okay. I mean, some function means some work to be done every time. You may have a different parameters, but you give the parameter and it should give you the return value. So for that, if you want to write a code which should be reusable, you can use as many times. Many people can use it in a different programs. Then you have to create a function, right? So as part of this session, we are going to discuss about the functions, which is called Python functions. In Java, we call it a method. So now, guys, in Python, we have a different kind of functions which we can use it. One is like a user-defined function. We define the functions. We have a built-in functions. You might have seen it during the variable introduction. So many functions we have used it to process the data. So that's a built-in function. We have a lambda function also, nameless functions, and recursion function also. But in these sessions, we'll talk about the two functions, user defined and built-in function. Built-in function, I have shown you many of these. Again, we'll show you some of these more. And user defined functions, like how can we define our own function? So, and that function can be reused a number of times. Okay, so look at this here. When you define a function, typically we start with a def. Okay, so def and the name of the function, whichever you, and whatever the arguments you wanted. So look at it very carefully. This one, def is a way to define a function. Name basically an identifier via which the function is called. Okay, so you should be having a name, so that is identifier. Arguments, you can have so many, depends on see, whatever the argument you are passing to the function, that should be processed inside a function, and then you should give it the result value. So here arguments basically contain a list of values passed to the function. Okay, that is a function. So arguments, you can pass the list of values. Now in the statement, it can be anything. The processing, it can be anything which is conditioning, looping, some operators, the one which I have shown you. It can be any kind of statement here, and then processing. And ultimately, it should return a value after the processing. Return a value. The values is important after that all the processing. And so whenever you call this function with certain arguments, the return value is the value which is a output for this. Okay, so it's very simple. Look at this one, one more example here. Look at this. There's one function called add. Name of the function is add. So how do you define the function? Def keyword, name of the function add, parameters, argument, whatever you want to call it, parameters, argument, function argument inside the parenthesis x and y. X is a value, a variable, y is a variable. Whatever you pass that, it will become a value. Okay, x, you can use it inside a function. And here you are using, again, you look at this format, a print f. You understand the statement very well by now, formatting the whole string. So here you are printing that x and y value, and after that return, what you are doing it, return x plus y. So this is a arithmetic operator, plus, so which will add those two value, whatever you pass, and it will give you the results. So are you comfortable with it? Function, how do you define the function in Python? Yeah, colon this, remember that at the end of it, fourth top point, colon ends the function definition that you have to be careful. I mean, slowly you with the habit you get used to it. Okay, and fifth one is a function code. This code can be longer also, depends on your processing. And function return the statement, which is the sixth. Look at this here. Print hello world. This itself is a function. Okay, this itself is a function. Str itself is a function. Integer itself is a function. Now this is called built-in function, which I have showed you also in the previous session. Okay, so print itself is a function. Yeah, so our input is what? That string hello world, whatever it is. Now here you see user name is a variable name. Here is equal to input is also a function. Input will prompt you with a certain message. Enter the user's name, whatever it is. Okay, so that is a function. Okay, here you have a nested functions. Look at this here. This def, this is a custom function. Okay, this is the built-in function. This is the custom function which we are having a nested function. So now you have a def. The name of the function is get students, and then there's one list students mark James. Okay, so that's the one list you have. Now again inside that also we have one function. So the statement can have a multiple functions as you want it. Return is important. So def define something. What is that? Get student title cases, and then again you have a student title cases. Empty list. Here you have empty list. Here what we are doing, for student in, that means whatever that number of element you have in the list called student, which is line number second, that will be set to the student variable, and that will do that. So here you see student underscore title case, which is a copying itself inside this. Okay, and append, you are appending the student or title, and return, you are again doing the return. So first method which you are declaring, you are returning student title case. Now based on that you are processing it and getting into the first function, which is like student underscore title case underscore name is equal to get title case underscore name. So see here the line number from the bottom, if you see from line number bottom, second one, that is calling the function, and after that whatever that you are calling, you are printing it last statement. So from the top to the bottom except the last two line, this is a nested function, and that is also you can call it. Okay, so this is the function. So let me show you the demo first. Now this is a lambda function. I'm ignoring it lambda functions right now because it will be too much for it. Just a second guys, I'm getting some disturbance. Let me just a second. Let me switch off this. Yeah, so lambda functions I'm not covering here right now because it'll be too much again. So let's move on to the demo right now. So what I'm doing, let me show you some functions here. Look at this here. You want to create a functions. Here you have a creating a function. So how do you declare this? You know that it's a my function, print, simple. So here you're not passing arguments. Now here calling a functions. So this is the calling a function. So here This is the creating a function. This is the calling function. I'm not passing any argument, so but here you can see that. So it will return hello from the function and done. So here the spelling mistake here. Did I make any copy paste mistake? Yeah. See here, hello from the functions. Here it is. Now you can also with the arguments. So let's do some sort of arguments. So here my function, this is on arguments and processing arguments print f name, and you are appending with some random text. So here you are calling the functions. Now my function, the parameter, because it's not strongly typed, so you can use it, but you can define here some, if it has to be accepted integer or float or whatever it is, you can define it, which I've shown you. So email tab use LANS or whatever it is. So it will 3 times I'm calling 1, 2, 3. See here, email DAP. Look at this output. So you see that you are using the code. I don't have to redefine this. The function is right now, it's a very small, but it can be longer. It can be pretty long one actually, but ultimately it has to return something. So you see that you can reuse it with the same function with the multiple arguments. So this is the beauty about this. You can write it. Yep, this is one more example, number of arguments. See here, you define the function f name, last name, 2 arguments, and you are processing it, doing it. Here the code can be anything. Here we are calling the function email and this one. So this is the way you're calling, passing the string. See here. So yep, this is the function. Again, the functions can be complicated, but remember, this is how we declare, this is how we use it. One function, multiple parameters, you can do that. There's a oops concept. We have a function reloading and all stuff like that also, but not getting into that right now. It'll be too complex. So any questions on the function, guys? Any questions on the function? Okay, guys, what about if you have a multiple functions together? So, and how do we use that? How do we use it? For example, let me give you this some skeleton now. There is one file which is called service A. Understand that service A is the one microservice. Okay, so what you're going to do, how can we design? Actually, I'm just teaching you how to design. So this is the one functionality microservices. Okay, so probably you will have something like this, service.py. Okay, and in this services, microservices, of course you'll have something like a CRUD operation, right? CRUD means create something. And now what is creating, I don't know, but create something. Okay, because I'm just discussing right now. Here, edit something, whatever you created, or it can be create also, or it can be add also. It's conceptually I'm trying to explain. Edit means edit existing one. Okay, and add, create, add, update. I'll not add, update, you will get confused, and delete. Okay, delete something. Now this is something we design, right? There's a one whole functionality we write, service A, and this we want to do create, edit, delete. And so typically this is, we in a short we call it a CRUD. I think you might have heard about it, CRUD, create, read, update, and delete. And a read I have not mentioned, right? I was thinking I'm missing something. Read. So read something. Now, so here all these 4 method you want to have it as part of this microservices. Okay, so what do we do in this case? So for that, what we'll do, we'll create one function here, create function. Okay, and some parameter param1, param2, something like that. I'm just creating a plan, nothing, not coding it. This is the how to create a function, you know that by now. This is edit, and which one you want to edit, you have to give the field name or something like that, some which you want to edit. Okay, it can be list, it can be variable, it can be the entries in the database also, correct, in the table. Here read, which you want to print or read, same thing. And here which you want to delete. Are you understanding the conceptually? So now see, there's one function I can use as many times to create. You want to do creation 10 times, you can use this function. You want to edit 10 times, 20 times, 100 times, you can use it. And here you can read it, here you can delete it. Are you understanding the concept? Are you? So guys, how do we keep the multiple functions together? And we call it one service A. So that something which we call it a class. Okay, class concept. Okay, so we have to define a class now. Class will contain so many things. Class will contain multiple functions, and when we call this class dot create, class dot edit, class dot read, class dot delete. Okay, so now the purpose of you to write code is to write a class. Okay, so when you write a one function, write one class entirely, everything you do, the CRUD operations, every sort of method which you have, you add it and then get it started. So now the next topic is class. So here you see here how we are progressing. We understand that first thing what we learn is like variable. Okay, after that different types of variable, then variables we use the operators to process it. Okay, and then process based on the conditions and looping. Okay, it depends on requirement. After that, this all these variables, operator, condition, looping, we put it inside a function. Now function can be inside a function also, nested function. It can be built in user defined functions also. Now multiple functions we wanted to manage the code, put it up together, so sharing will become easier for, and accessing will become easier, so put it a class. Okay, so those are the things which we do that. Are you understanding? This class is the last things to do in the Python. So that means ultimately when you plan for writing any microservices, you plan for writing a class. Okay, there is a one concept called interfaces also, but I'm not getting into that too much of complex stuff. But class, are you understanding now what we are trying to do? Class is your last package. Make sense? Okay, so now let's understand about the class, guys. Okay, so first thing, what is the classes and why do we need them? So guys, you know that by now we have understood that class is like a human, and we want so many human. So let's say if you're a god, think in a simple way. Okay, see that God also has created a multiple classes. Okay, God has created one class called human, one class called dog, one class called what animal, elephant, one class called this one COVID virus. They have a multiple variant, right? Every country has got a multiple variant. So different class you have it, and you feed the some, change the property, and you get the objects. So you want the, you have a class, you something like a template, something like a pattern, something like that, and you can create many objects. So you create a class, and that class you can initialize. We have a keyword called initialize. Please understand that class we initialize. Okay, not create. You cannot create a class. There is a difference between initialize and create. Anyone would like to tell me what is the difference between create and initialize? Anyone? So create is a physical entity, like see here, create is a physical entity, something like which you can experience, you can touch, you can experience and touch, you can work with it. But something like initialize is something like which you can experience but you cannot touch. You cannot touch, you cannot it will perform the things, it will do the actions, but you cannot touch, you cannot physically get inside, come out of something. It's something like that. For example, let me put it in this way. Planet Earth is a uh, physical entity. You can touch the earth, right? But something like a sky, can you touch the sky? Can you touch the sky? So it's like this. That's a initializations. So something like that. So here when we say class can be initialized and you get objects, objects will perform as you have written the class, but objects you cannot keep it for the I mean it's a temporary. You class will be initialized from the object will be initialized from the class, and the object the performance, I mean the work has been completed, and they will destruct themselves. So it's not a consistent, it's not materialistic things. It's like to get the work done. So it's like that. So here we have a class, we have objects, we initialize the class, we get objects, multiple objects. We change the properties of the class parameter, we get a different kind of object with a similar but properties are different. We call it inheritance and polymorphism and all stuff like that. So we'll discuss about this. So car is a class, different kind of class. A car is a object. See here, girls is a class, whereas multiple different kind of girl is objective. Like a man, boy is a class, and different kind of boy is a object. Understand that. So this is this you might have studied in colleges also, object and class. So here a student is a class, and we get a multiple student with the different properties like a name, age, color, sex is like object. Okay, I hope you remember. So this is the way. So you see here we define these. Look at this here. This the student is a class. So in a student, what do we have? In a student we have a variable. Look at this, int, string, variable. And what do we have? A different kind of method, which I was talking about here also. See here, this is the method functions. Okay, so different kind of method. What method? Set the roles, display roles, set name, display name, all these kind of things. And when you initialize this class, you get a different objects like a Mary, Ram and John. Okay, look at this, dog is a class. Again, different kind of dog is a object, different property. You see here, dog, you have some variable which is called breed, size, age, color, and different things you perform through the object, like a eat, sleep, action, a sit, run. So whatever that you pass, it will do the things, class and object. Okay, see animal, different kind of object, animals, like that. So guys, did you understand the fundamental of class and object, all of you?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, in the class you can have a method and variables, both you can have it. So student ID, student name, student grades. So this is a class. So how do you define a class? That's important. How do you create? Simple. And how do you define a class? So here you just type class student. So you see here, whenever you define the method, def, whenever you define a class, and name of the class, colon, defining class. How do you create an instance? How do you create an object of this class? So here student is object, has been initialized from the student class. Here you remember, this is the class you define here. So how do you define an object? Student is a class here, object here, but it has come from the class called student, which is S in capital. It student, the first keyword, it can be anything. Okay, so it's like that. So this is the way you can create a class. This is the way you define a class. Look at this here. Understand that constructors in Python, it's a very important concept you need to understand. So what is a constructor? So here constructor are generally used for instantiating an object. Yeah. So when you use this one, student is equal to student dub. So constructor is inbuilt in Python. So whenever you use this line, okay, that one instance is being created, one object is being created because of constructor only, because of constructor. So this default constructor is inbuilt in the Python. So that's what we are talking about. So constructors are generally used for instantiating an object. A task for constructor is to initialize and assign a values to the data members of the class when an object of the class is created. In Python, the init method is called the constructor. Yeah. So this method is default actually. So this method is get called whenever you initialize any class. See here, student is equal to student dub, creating a new instance of a student class is this one. So constructor are generally used for instantiating an object. The task of constructor is to initialize, assign value to the data member of the class when an object of the class is created. In Python, the init method is called the constructor and always called when an object is created. Okay, so here you have a default constructor and parameterized constructor as well. So default constructor is the one which is a simple constructor which does not accept any arguments. Okay, something like a init is a default constructor. Its a definition has only one argument, which is a reference to the instance is being constructed. And parameterized, you can create a parameterized constructor also, constructor which the parameter is known as a parameterized constructor. Parameterized constructor takes its first argument as a reference to the instance being constructed known as a self, and rest of the arguments are provided by the programmer. Look at this image, you will understand that. Here you see that here my object is equal to, my object is one object from the call example. Okay, so what happens, we can also pass parameter here to initialize the variables. Okay, that is a, you can also do that. But when you initialize in the my object, when you call this my object, what happens to the example, objects is creating using the that new function which is inbuilt. Okay, after that created and then initialize all the variables or whatever it is using the init functions. Understand that? So whenever you write this line, two things is doing it. Okay, one is doing the new, it is using a new function. You don't have to define, just understand that. Okay, is how it has been implemented. So new function is been using to create an object, and after that initialize is being done through the init function. So two things is been run and then object is ready. So here while calling the new and init, parameters are passed on the init method to initialize the created object. Okay, so whenever you pass any parameters, remember important thing is parameters are passed on the init method to initialize the created objects. If you want to pass the parameter, you have to pass to init method. So here we have, this is the one. Look at this example of it, probably it will help you to understand in an easy way. This is the class, name of the class is geek for geeks. Inside that you have a variable, string variable, which is empty, but it's declared, not initialized, I mean it's declared but not assigned with the values. Now here we have a default constructor init. Okay, so before that new has been automatically inbuilt, so it will be used. So init, which is basically a default constructor, and in this what you have, default constructor, you are saying self.geek. Self.geek means myself, I am the myself dot geek, that's the variable, string variable which you have in the second line, is equal to geek for geeks. Okay, but inside that so you define one initialize that self, and then you define a parameter which is a geek. Now what you are having, there's one function which is called print geek, and again it's a self, and here you are displaying self.geek, which is a self.geek which is set of the geek for geeks, and that is a method. And after that when you are creating an object, then automatically what will happen, the output will be
To watch our complete session, enroll for our premium membership. Click onto the join button and enroll yourself with the best suited option.
Gigs for gig. So which is, you see that. So here, look at my screen, which is from the bottom code in the where it says creating object for the class. So you created a obj is a one instance, one object for which class, which you declare on top. And the class, what you are doing, printing the self.gig, which is a some variables. Now, how do we call it? We instantiated the object, but how do we call it? Creating an object. So how do you create an object of the class? New function automatically is being used. So whenever you use this line, creating object of this class, automatically is being used new function. After that, how do we call that instance method using the object? So here you can see that object.printGreek. PrintGreek is a method. Obj is an instance of that class, and function is being called, and then output is being derived. So this is skeleton of the class. Are you able to understand this?
Yes.
Okay, so look at this one more example here, little bit with a little bit more functions. So here what you have, class is one addition, three variables are there, all are integer variable, first, second, and third answer. There are some parameterized parameterized constructor. So here you have a default constructor with the parameterized. So here you remember that here constructor can be a default constructor and parameterized. So here I'm showing, here I showed you the default one, okay, doing the self, but here parameterized one. So self f s. So three parameters are there, where the self dot first is equal to f, self dot second is a yes. Now here you have a method which is called display. Self for all the self means whatever you set in the variables will be used here. Now here you are setting a print first number and string self dot first. So self dot first is a f. Look at this f, which is a parameter. So anyone who uses this display will call the init, and then accordingly it will set and then get the value. So first number is equal to self dot first, and second number self dot second, and addition here you are doing some sort of addition, adding a two numbers. Okay, so here that's a function you understand very well. Now there's one more function, if you see, calculate, and in the calculate what you are doing is self dot first and self dot second you are adding. So here you have two function, one for display, one for calculate. Now what you are doing, you are passing two parameters. So look at this here, first one obj is equal to addition. So addition is basically is your class name which you declare on the first line. So whole thing is a class. So you are creating one object obj with the two parameter constructor, 1000 and 2000. Now that you have created a constructor here. Now how do you perform the addition? So here you have to call that obj is an object, in that method is calculate, and method calculate you have already you have created object 1000 and 2000. So every time when you call the object which is called addition class, and calculate which is the last method which is inside a class called addition, then automatically 1000 and 2000 will be sent. So here f is equal to 1000, s is equal to 2000. So it will send you that calculate, where you do that it will send you that remember here just a second, it will send you that what do you say, calculate will go to the last function, last function, and here self dot answer, which is a return value, okay, is equal to self dot first. Self dot first is equal to 1000 and self dot second is equal to 2000. So it will do that, and return value will be the last one. Okay, and again second method, you see that display results, you have called the method called display, and where you are printing that first number, you are printing the second number. So output is only for the calculate. Here in, if you look at this, in the calculate we are not returning anything, we are not printing anything. So it will return but it will not print anything, so mind it here. That's the reason I got little lost. So calculate has no any print statement. I just now got into the memory. So display, you have a 3 print statement, so it's displaying. If you look at it very carefully, uh, display function, third line, look at it very carefully. Addition of 2 numbers, and here you are doing plus str self.answer. Self.answer means the same class, and then which variable, that answer whatever you have set in the calculate. So that is being done. So this is the way you can use this and get it started. Now this is the way I have used the same way. Here you see addition 1000 2000, it's the same thing. So mark is a one object from the student property which you are passing, parameter which you are passing as mark, and James student, again same thing, and then mark is not equal to James, is not equal to Jessica. So understand this. Okay, so any questions on the class front? Okay, so there's one question I not sure in C++ the term is this. I need to check that. I have forgotten in C++ actually.
No, Rajesh. Actually, Anupam's question was, what does self means?
A self means the same class which you are referring. So self means anything, any variable which is defined in the self, you are using it, that one, not some other variable. Because remember here, the every variable has a scope, and when you run in the Python virtual machines, then you may have a same variable from the different class also. So which class, which objects the variable which you are trying to access. So when you say self means my own, not something which is set by the global constructor. Constructor, remember I said there is one module called constructor, you can set some variable, so that way. Okay, so let's show you the demo in this. Okay, so look at this here code. This code is a one class. Okay, this code is one class. Class name is person, and here you have initialization self, name, age. So here self dot name is equal to name, and here you are hardcoding self dot age equal to age. Now, how you are setting up this? Print. Here you are printing. Here you are creating object. So object from the person, parameter John, name, age 36. Okay, so here self dot name is equal to John, self dot age equal to 36. Now what you are doing, look at it very carefully. P1 dot name. So here P1, which is a P1, which is a person. What is a dot name? Dot name is this one, is equal to name. So whatever that you have, it will display. This will come this one, and it will print on the screen. So that is what we are doing, name and age. So this is the way, simple one, but it can be complicated also. Let me show you here. Look at this here. Here you have a one class. Here it's a default constructor and functions. What you are doing, self means all the variables will be used from the self, and print my name is hello dot name. Name is equal to name which you are providing from here. So object class person, parameter 2 which you are addressing here and setting up here, self dot name, self dot age, and here you are setting up object. Here you are calling the objects. So here which will be the P1, which is a class person, and my function, which is my function, and this will be print. So you're printing inside a function. So I'm done. So here John, and you are printing only the name, not age, though you have captured, but it's not printing. Now again it's the same thing, same. So yeah, how do you, this was a mod creating it, but how do you modify it? So here look at the try here only. See here, person functions. Here again same thing. Here you are modifying it, p1.h. See here. So here run it, and you got the output, which is myself.name 40. So here print p1.h. So what you did, you set the value 40. Here you set 30. So p1 is a object, age is the variables of that object. You set this here. Earlier it was set 36, which you set it here, but you reset it here, and then you are displaying p1.age 40. So that's the reason you are seeing 40. I am not calling my function. That's the reason you are not displaying this one. Okay. Now one more thing, we can delete an object. So how do you delete an object? Quickly see here. You created a p1 and .h. So here you created a p1 object, and here you are deleting p1.h and print, and you see here print, it will show you the error because you deleted actually. See here, this is the error. Trace back line number dot dot dot. Person object has no attributes, but if you delete this line and you see here 36, you should see 36. Got it? So yeah, you can delete an object, you can create an object, you can change the variables of it. All these things you can do that. Okay, so there's some questions in the chat window. Anupam, yeah, I'll talk about it. Asmita, can I write a P2 is equal to P1? New name and new age. Yes, yes, that's what I showed you here, right? You can do that. You can declare that, just a second. See here, look at the line number obj, where we are creating an object. You are directly you're setting up the 1000 and 2000 there also. Multiple ways to pass this parameter. Okay, so now one thing guys, I would like to tell you, this is the class. Okay, but you know what? No. How can you copy the object? Understand that object is a initialization. That's what I said. You cannot copy because it's not a physical stuff, right? Are you understanding? It's not a, that's the reason I said understand the difference between create and initialization. You cannot copy because not exist. It is, you can use it, that the object which you created, but you cannot duplicate that. If you want to duplicate that, you have to create a new object from the class. But overriding you can do that. Overriding you can do that. Inheritance you can do that. Polymorphism you can do that. So I'm not getting into the oops concept too much, else it become a different topics, but just trying to get an idea for you. Okay guys, you see one statement a lot, too many times. What statement? So guys, you see one import statement, and then you will see that one something like that file or xyz. What does that mean? Anyone would like to comment? What is that? What does that mean? Import xyz when you do that? Yeah, so what happened guys, understand that. So this, the function which you declare like that in the Python, understand that, sorry, not function, class. So you have a two kind of class. One is your class. Okay, one is Python class, and the Python class also inbuilt and downloaded using pip. Okay, pip. Okay, so these are the classes will be there. You write your own class also, but inbuilt Python also has a many classes, and download using the pip also, it's many classes. What happens if you want to use some other class which is not set in the Python by default? then you have to use import. Okay, import xyz means import first dot first. Did you understand the from where the first has come? Any idea from where the first has come? First, from where it has come? Guys, am I audible? No. First has come. So now tell me from first where has come. Import first dot print first x is equal to first something and here x dot is equal to some function. So any idea from where the first has come now? See guys, we created here, right? Remember first dot py class person. So here first is basically is your package name. This is your package. It's become a package. Now here you import, then here what you call person. Sorry, my bad. Here will be a person. Think about it. You have written two programs. One program is here first.py, and if you want to import this functionality, how do you do that? So you have to import that first. Make sure that first.py is in your Python, some library, some location in the default path or some in the current path or something like that. So here you say import first, not py. Don't have to specify py. And then what do you have in the first.py? Person. So what do you do? X is the object, person something. So this is the parameter. So here you created object and then printing dot x dot some functions which is inside that here my function. Are you understanding now? How do we use the different libraries? So you will see that guys, so many import statement. So understand that import means you're importing the Python program and their functions, classes, everything. You can get it here. You can reuse the code. You don't have to reinvent again and again. You download the multiple packages which I was showing you in the PYPI. So you can download and you can import and reuse whatever the function if you want to use it. Are you understanding it, all of you? Okay. So guys, now with that, next question is what is Flask? Or also Django also. Flask versus Django. All this thing study you can do in offline versus Django. But at a overall, I'm trying to cover that. What is Flask or Django? So guys, you know, it is we call it a framework. Understand that. Now, what is a framework? I don't know. So, okay, what is a framework? I don't know. So let's understand the problem here. First, understand the problem. Problem is like, guys, we have how many people in this session? We have 9 people in this session. So 9, person 1, person 2, person 3, person 4, person 5, person 6. Just for the sake of discussion. When I give you the software development, then you will write a login page. Then you will file registration page. Then we have some validation in place. Then we have some structure, important things, struc structure RUC, structure. And with the structure, when we say MBC, do you understand the MBC? What is the stand for MBC?
Model view controller.
Yeah, model view controller. Structure means where you should have a database code, where you should keep it, where you should be having the processing, business processing code controller, and how you should display through the to the people. View, MBC, model view controller. So the structure, like how do we see? If I give you this, if I say person 1, he will follow something else. Person 2, he will follow some structure, different structure. Person 4 will follow different structure, different coding standard. And so it's a mess, right? How do we work together? It's a mess. We need some sort of guidelines, and someone should say, hey, listen, don't do your own way, do it one way. Own way versus one way. One way means which everyone knows that. So how do we enforce everyone saying that, okay, you have to keep the view here, you have to keep the model here, you have to keep the controller here, you have to have some of the modules already written, you can reuse it, import it and use, don't write the code line by line, you have a dependencies management, you have a validation, you have a security issues taken care of it, integrity issues taken care of it. So all these guidelines for the software development, they wants to give it to you. Someone has to give it to you. So guys, if you have every organizations, if you want to have one, if you want to set up a one way, it's like a huge work actually. What happens, let's say this is set up in the Adobe. Now if you join another organization, he will have their own way. So that way, think about it. So now he has to learn his other company, let's say Microsoft. So Microsoft will have a different structure, different validation. Though in Microsoft, everything is one standard, but out of this Microsoft, you will have a different standard, or out of Adobe, you'll have a different standard. Are you understanding the problem for the programmers? So again, you spend more time on the learning all this stuff and getting used to it. So what community have done it? They said, hey, listen, let's all of you, let's use the whole world, use some sort of common structure, common ways to call the different modules, common ways to have the MBC and login registration model, everything, integrity, security. Let's deal with in a common way. Whole world will follow the same method. So that is where that concept of framework has come. You can write a program, you can write n number of classes, you can write n number of views, n number of this, that, and all stuff like that, but everything will be different. But if you follow the framework, everything will be fine. Now let me put it up in this way. If the person who's using Django in Adobe, same person, if he joined the Microsoft, he knows everything, where and all which files are there, and he will immediately start coding it. Are you understanding the problem, guys, all of you?
Yes.
Yeah, so framework has given a lots of reusing capability, and following the same process, structure, guidelines, best practices. Troubleshooting makes these things easier for all of us. It's created so much of it gave us so much of solutions for problems, daily problems, when we start writing a programs, Python programs or any programs in the thing. So now here, let's talk about some of the popular framework. We have a Java, we have a Python, we have a PHP, we have a Ruby. These are the popular languages, right? So in Java, what framework we have? I forgot actually. Anyone remember? Yeah, but very popular one is Spring Boot. Have you heard about it? I think you might have had a session on the Docker. Sorry, not Docker. Java, right? Spring Boot. In Python, we have this. I was talking about Flask and Django. In PHP, we have a Laravel, very popular. Ruby, we have a Rails. Have you heard about this Rails? So yeah, so because of this whole Java programming group use the Spring Boot to write a program, Python, Flask or Django. Again, let me tell you, these are the popular one. We have a 10 plus actually in this category. You may have a 5 plus in the Python also. So just if you look at the Google, you will find it many actually. Golang, we have a Jin, but 10 more you will be having it. Okay, so out of which I'll just give you some limited demo with a Flask and just make you comfortable. So next time when you do the programming language web-based development, then you can use a Flask for it, or Django. Django is little harder compared to Flask. Flask is very simple. So that's the reason I'm showing you the Flask. Okay, so all of you understood at the high level what is a framework? All of you? Okay. So now guys, let's get started. So simple thing, we're going to understand what is a Flask, what are the requirement for it, how do we create a web app and run it. I'll show you that. How do we how to do the UR mapping and some common problems and debugging. So what is a Flask? Basically, Flask is a micro framework which has a minimal feature. That's what I said. If you want advanced one, you go for the Django. Okay, we have a minimal feature with a minimal code. So if you don't want to write very sophisticated software, then Flask is easy to get started with it. Very easy in terms of web development, one drop at a time. That means if you want to use a web development, do the web development, and you want to do a small application development, then Flask is the best for. Okay, so why choose Flask? Because it's a simple, clean, simple app in a single Python. I mean, small app in a single Python file you can run. It's a flexible. You have so many components in the Flask which you can choose and use it. You don't want to use it, no problem. So it has a, I said, right, lots of functionality already has been developed. You can reuse that code, well documented and popular. Okay, so now in terms of templating, you have a Jinja 2 templating, which is it's a Python templating actually concept, which Flask also uses it. We have support for the RecZev, and routing is done through HTTP and routing. Now, what is this RecZev? I'm not able to pronounce this properly. So basically, it's collections of libraries which you can use it, libraries of Python which you can use it with the Flask as well. That means Flask supports this one. So here you have, see, just read this line, you don't go deep into it. Okay, RecZev is a comprehensive WSGI web application library. So it is a very popular in a Python community. So it has a support for it. So lots of ready-made things you get it here. Now development server, so you can use is for the development server and debugging, and unit testing support is there with the Flask. Now what are the prerequisites for Flask? You should know the basics of Python, which you know by now. You should know pip also, which I have shown you that what is a pip and a run one command also. And you should know basics of HTML and CSS and JavaScript also, because it's a web application, right? Web application framework. So if you don't know HTML and CSS and stuff like that, it's very difficult to work with it. And again, a latest version of Python 3. Okay, so as part of this, we will do the installation, install the Flask, then we'll create a simple web application, run the application and view the site in a browser. These are the things which I'm going to do that. So how do we do that? Let's get started. So guys, if you want to install the Flask, this is the command pip install Flask. Okay, so you have to use the Flask. Flask is one of the popular framework which is available in the pypy.org. So installing the Flask, which can be done pip install Flask. make sure to install an active virtual environment.
To watch our complete session, enroll for our premium membership. Click onto the join button and enroll yourself with the best suited option.
What is an active virtual environment? That means how to create an actual active virtual environment manually. I'll not talk about it, but PyCharm has a automated way to create an environment for you. So I'll show you that PyCharm, which automatically create an environment for Python. Now Anaconda comes with a Flask installed by default. So what is Anaconda? So basically Anaconda is one of the Python version which is supported by Red Hat. See, I hope I'm not making mistakes. Red Hat or some other organization. Recently, Red Hat has been bought by someone else, so I need to check the latest stuff. So Anaconda is one of the Python variant, okay, which comes with a Flask installed by default. So how do we create an application in the Flask? Simple. Look at this. Now you understand the import statement, right? Now you understand the import statement, right? So here, the moment you run this pip install Flask, here what you are doing, from Flask import Flask. Okay, so from Flask means from Flask is the module name. Okay, and import what? You are having one flask.py inside a module. Are you understanding the first line? From Flask means Flask is a module name which is already installed and set in the pip environment. All this pip packages whichever you install, your Python can access it. So Flask is a module name. So Flask, from Flask and import Flask. So import Flask is a flask.py will be there inside a module. Now how do you initialize? You know that, I think you know that this one, app is equal to app is an object, okay, of the class name Flask, and here it is a hyphen name, the one which you see that, which basically creating a self object. Okay, so here creating the Flask application object, this line you have to create. After that creating an object, you do whatever you want. So look at this here. Here you have a route. Route means what? Route means Flask will be, you created object, but in the object what you want to do, so you want to route and display some web application at the front end. So this here, the slash URL, my underscore URL is basically web server. Remember here Flask has an inbuilt web server, so it will do the routing at that URL, and at that routing what you want to display, you want to display one function. What function? Def, you understand this function now, def my view function, and return this is an example page. So this is a whole Flask applications. It's a very simple hello world application. It's not something which is a big, very complicated, very simple one. I'll show you. And then how do you see the function? So URL must start with the slash. It's important. There's no connection between the URL and function names, remember that. And when a request come in for that URL, the function will be called automatically. Okay, now this is important, how to run. So look at this here, how to install, how to create, how to define the customize the web application, and how to run. So for running it, you have to set that file. So let's say your Flask application name is a flashcard.py, you have stored it. So you have to set the variable for the virtual machine, a virtual Python virtual environment, export a Flask app is equal to flashcard.py. Now this is for Linux. If you are in Windows, you have to use the set command. I'm having Windows right now, so I'll use set Flask underscore app is equal to that Python program name, whatever you have. Okay, now here you can also enable the development or production, whatever it is, the environment, Flask environment. Yeah. So Flask runs in the environment automatically. It has to be created, but PyCharm will create first. So here, if you want to set the development and production environment, development has a debugging features. production will not have a debugging, and many things has been disabled. So when you set the environment, automatically those stuff is been configured. So export, here you are setting up the export environment development. And how do you run it? So the code is Flask run. Okay, so in running Flask on Windows, use the set instead of export. Don't add spaces around the equal sign in the while setting up the environment. If the server does not start automatically, then try Python-m module name Flask and run. Okay, and then Control C to stop the server. So this is the stuff. So let me show you the demo now. Okay, so let me show you the code right now. First thing, go to here. This is a PyCharm. Let's create a new project. And here you see that, guys, look at my screen. PyCharm is supported Flask here, second one, Django, Google App Engine, Pyramid, Web2 PY, Scientific, Angular CLI, Angular JS, Bootstrap, blah, 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 so many things which is. So I'll go for the Flask and read it. I don't know whether you can see it or not properly. Here we have an applications path where the code will be stored. So I am storing the code here. Okay, and Flask project, name of the Flask project. Now guys, I told you, right, virtual environment, if you create a manually, then you have to do that some commands operations, but in this editor you can create a new environment using virtual env. Okay, and then where the location will be there, here. And interpreter, which Python version you want to use. So I have only 1/3 one, which I'm going to use it. And some of the options we have some of the options we have inherited global site package or make available to all projects. As of now, not needed. You want to configure some default previously interpreted and it's not needed. Some of the more setting also you have for the templating. Right now I'm not talking the templating too much, so we'll cover a little bit of it but not too much. So right now it's okay. And create. Okay, so guys, I have created one project. This whole skeleton will be created by them. See, here it's downloading. Look at this here, downloading some of the packages, setup tools and stuff like that. And now pip, they're downloading many other stuff. It'll be downloaded fast because right now I'm in the home network, so that should not be consuming lots of time. It's done almost. So many tools got installed successfully, uninstalled, setup tools, blah, 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 and stuff like that. So next time when you create a project, it will not be taking so much of time because virtual environment to create, there's some application needed, and that we have got it. Okay, so like that. Okay, so almost done. Almost downloaded. Jinja 2 markup. Installing all the packages. It's just a one-time activity. You see that if you can see on screen, installing all the required packages, updating. Done. Okay, so now you see that my project got created. Let it come, or still it's loading left side. You see here. So here, this is my first project. Hello world program, something like that you can say. And see here, some of the external library which has been used. Look at this here. These are the libraries which has got. So here some binaries, some DLLs, some library. Again, it's a whole is a Flask environment. I told you Anaconda Python is included in this. So you see here some of the side packages. Here you have some virtual environment related stuff you have here. Okay, and here type shed some folders, so you can check it out. And here Fast project. So See here, first project, whatever you have got it, it's already environment. So these all has been set up. Now I think you can check this little later also, all this functionality of editor, many functionality we have it, but directly I'll go and start coding actually. So what I will do, right click, new file. Okay, here you can say Python file, HTML file, all this thing you can do that. So right now I'll copy paste one of my program. I'll just copy paste one of the program and I'll show you this. Okay, so these are the three files I copied. What is this requirement.txt? Requirement.txt is basically for guiding the pip, saying that, okay, which are the Flask version you needed. To run that Flask, I need 1.1 minimum version. It should be greater than and is equal to 1.1, which is there in this case. Now, what is this flashcard? Look at this very simple logic here you have. See here, from data time, this is the one module, importing datatime.py, which is a inbuilt module. Now what you are doing from Flask is a module name, importing flask.py. Here you are creating object app is equal to Flask, which one here, and this is the default constructor. You are creating object. Now what you want, where you want to route that object, so app at the rate of dot route. Now all these are defined, this route, whatever you use it, all these are defined in the Flask itself. So here when you set the route at this address, route means this address of that your application, what you want to run. So you want to run one function. Which function? Def welcome. You know this function, so it's very simple functions which you. Now you want to route second thing. What do you want to route? At the slash at date, what you want to display? Look at this here. Here return this one and str string date time. What is the date time? So date time is the one of the, you see here, package, and dot now is one of the method inside. Sorry, this date time is this one. See here, this one. Not, I'm not able to select because both is getting selected. Look at this. This is the mod name. Understand that, and this is the class name. Understand this. So I'm talking about this class name. Okay, not mod name. Are you understanding what I'm trying to say? The one which I'm selecting, guys. Yeah, and then now is a function. Okay, now means there's some inbuilt function in this particular package, and which will display. Here what you are doing, at that count view you are running one more, where you are setting up the one variable counter is equal to 0, which is integer. Okay, and here you are doing global counter added by 1 and returning that one, same thing. So here first one is this one, second one is this one, third one is this one, all these things together you can see that. So can we do one thing, can we run these applications? So did I modify? No. So here you have all this imported which I have explained it to you. So now guys, you see my cursor, there's one terminal, you see that here. Okay, there's one terminal. You can do the run also and run this stuff, but I have to set one variable. I talked about it here, if you remember. Where is that? Here, look at this. In order to run, you have to set export. Let me copy paste, and you have to set the environment. You can do that one also, but this is a one of the way I'm teaching you. So what is the file name, guys? I forgot. Flashcard.py is there, and development environment and run. Guys, in Windows we have a set command. Okay, remember it's not a Linux. So set commands. Can I do that now? So guys, here clear the screen. It's running little slow. I don't know why. What is the reason? Yeah, now it's okay. So here, copy, paste. I think it's damn slow actually. That's a problem. See, I'm typing. See here, something is wrong with this editor. Maybe just wait for a few seconds actually. You're doing something in the background, indexing Python, dub. It's a new environment, so you'll set up py. Okay, so that is done. And after that, copy, paste it. I did the paste, but it to come. And finally, guys, Flask run. I paste it. It had to come. And now, guys, it will open up. See here. Look at this. Read this here. It has called this. Look at. I don't know whether you can see it my screen very well or not. Can you see that VENV virtual environment? All of you. Hello. Yeah. So here you see here we are calling this. There's no error. Environment development. Debug mode on. Restarting with the stats. Debugger is active. Debugger pin is this one, and running on 5000. Default port for this application is 5000. So can we access this in the local host? Go to, look at this. Here, this is the same message. You got it, which I was talking about here. But date, you have something, right? That URL date. So write this URL date. See here. Okay. Now, third thing, count views. It has a certain functions which you are doing at the count views routing. See here. 1 times traffic. This basically traffic. I mean, how many hit you have it? 2, 3. I'm just refreshing page. Nothing. So guys, this is a simple hello world program in the Flask. This is my first page. This is my second page. This is my third page. Important thing is what you are returning from here. That is important. What you are returning, and how do you write this is a better way. It's up to you. Are you understanding, all of you?
Yes.
Okay. Now guys, last one more demo I would like to show you. One more demo. So for that, I'll explain you that one. Hold on. This project I will explain you. See here, guys. This is the one flashcard.py. Same thing. I'm not going to explain you everything, but only one thing. In understand that. Let me explain you first theoretically. See here, guys. There's one page which is called dashboard .html. Okay, but guys, how many users we have? User 1 will have their own dashboard, right? User will have their own dashboard. User 3 will have their own dashboard, correct? Now, are you getting my points? Problem. User 4 also will have his own dashboard. And then here, my name is Raj, but here my name will become a Raj 1. Here my name is Raj 2. Here my name is equal to Raj 3, like this. So the values will be different, right? So am I going to create those many HTML pages for it? No. What should I do? Create this page and add this name. Create this page, add this name as a variable, and interpolate it. But how can a Python can interpolate it? That is the question. Are you understanding the problem or not, all of you?
Yes.
Yeah, so that is done by, in a short way I'm talking about, that is done by Jinja 2. Jinja 2 is a template. Every language you have a template, by the way. Every language we have a template. Okay, in Python we have a Jinja 2. Okay, 3 also has come. Okay, so 3. Okay, so let's understand that what are the templating we have in a PHP. We have Python, we have Java, right? So in PHP we have we call it a blade. Okay, in Python we call it a Jinja, and in Java, see, I forgot that. Anyone remember? Template engines for Spring. I think one of this we have so many we have actually here, but one of the popular, I'm not able to recall the name actually. Anyone remember? No, that's one of this, but it's not more popular actually. So here, this is the one. Many templates. I'll just check later and tell you. Okay, there's one more which I'm not able to recall. Yeah. So we have a different templating. In Python, we have a Jinja 2. So what happens? Let me tell you here what you are doing. A very simple thing, guys. What we have, any file, okay, any file you can interpolate. For example, any file you can interpolate using the Jinja 2. Okay. So for that, how I'm doing, I'll show you that example. So look at my screen here. So guys, Jinja 2 says if you have a template stored in the templates directory. So here, this is the templates directory and all these file which you want to interpolate. So let's say welcome file. Look at this. This is the HTML. I assume that you know that HTML. These all are HTML except this one. Okay. Everything is HTML except this one. So in the message, this has to be interpreted. So message is a variable name. It has to be changed every time you run. So how do you change this? Look at this program here. Message, remember message variable. Look at this here. Look at it here. Okay. So here what you are doing, def welcome return rendered template welcome.html, and here you are changing the variables. This data was sent from the view from the template. So whatever the value will be there, in that it will be printed. So you change the variable and automatically that Jinja 2 will render the template. This is the function. You see here, look at it. From Flask, import Flask and render template also. So there's one more render template which is there in the Flask. This render template works with the Jinja 2. So that way you can do that also. So can we run this code here? I'm running the same code, modifying the same code. Okay. Here. Okay. And this welcome.html has to be there in the, so I'll just do one thing. I'll copy paste. That will be better. So okay, and now you see here, Control C to I made a mistake, I should have, before deleting, I should have, and my editor is very slow actually. I don't know, I have to check that. End session, close session, done. Okay, look at my screen here, guys. I have to set unfortunately one more time because I flashcard. Now it's fast actually. So maybe all this downloading has happened. And finally, Flask run. And you see here, okay, there's some problem in that. There's some problem in the code. And the problem is, okay, argument is a problem. Just a second, I'll fix this. Templating. Chair map codec can't decode. Okay, 1 second, guys. Let's do one thing. Let's create a new project. I think some of the stuff which still calling referring the second one. So let's create a new project, Flask, and this time I'll call it 2. Rest of the things is remain same. Do you want this window, new window? And I'll copy not entire code, but only the code which I need it. So I don't need anything else than this one. Flash 2 project. Just wait for a second. It's taking time. Okay, so basically, yep, look at the code here again. Same thing, what will happen? Welcome.html, this is a return, this is the function which you are doing. Return render template, which is one of the built-in function which you are calling. And parameter is welcome.html, and whatever the message you want to pass it, you do that. And here, this templates directory will be called. By default, when you call the render template, by default welcome.html will be read from the templates location. That's a inbuilt behavior of templating in Python. So here automatically it will read, so html dot template, and that interpolation will happen with a message whatever. So ultimately what you see, this page you will see at that port number, and this variables will be this one. So this is the easy way to understand that how the templating in Python works, and using the Flask. Okay, so let it come. I'll just show you that. Okay, so guys, any other questions which we have? What happens, Anupam, when you load the Flask environment? Jinja 2 template is a library which get loaded. So when you look at, are you able to see my cursor? When you see this output, no, you will see that Jinja 2 library has been loaded automatically, and which will be setting up the interpolations for you automatically. So it's loaded in the environment itself, virtual environment. Okay. So guys, any other questions which you have? Okay, so let's do a little bit of recap. So we did discuss about how to learn any programming language. Okay, understand that any
To watch our complete session, enroll for our premium membership. Click onto the join button and enroll yourself with the best suited option.
programming language. Second thing we discuss what is Python. Okay, where to use the Python, where and all you can use it. You can use anywhere. Why Python is popular. How to install Python. We have learned Python editor also. Okay, and then we started with a Python variable. Then we talked about the operators. Then we talked about conditioning. Then we talk about the looping. Then we talk about the functions, inbuilt function, and many functions we created, custom function, user function basically. Then we talk about the class, right? And then we talk about the modules using pip. And then finally we install the Flask, which is the module using pip, and then created a web app, hello world web app. And then finally we created we use a Flask and templating also we showed you that one. Okay, so any questions which you have? Okay, now it's ready. Let me run this program also. Copy paste. This time let me run this, refresh, and then run. I'm not adding that variable. I'm just assuming like it should be done. Let's see that is it's trying to run indexing and stuff like that. It'll take a few seconds. Just wait for it. You see the bottom section of this thing. I run it, but it's not taken. So manually I'm doing it. And look at this here. Hello world. Wait a second. Hello world is not displaying. Just a second. Hold on. This was, what is HTML? Welcome to my page. So maybe cache actually. How to go to the different URL, a different browser. Strange. So maybe then I have to end this first project. I remember I did it. Let me close this first project. Still is running, yeah. Okay. Now I understood that mistake. Control C and copy this stuff and development, and finally run this. What is this? Okay, just a second. Let me modify this code, little bit of it. So go to this, and I don't want to call this one right now, which is some library issues is there. What? So what is happening here? in the Python 3.9, that function which I'm trying to call is not calling actually. Undecoded error, char map. Can't decode byte 69 position in the map defined. So this is the map. I just copy pasted actually. I didn't do anything.
Along with that, you can access our other tutorials such as Docker, Ansible, Jenkins, Terraform, Splunk, AWS, Azure, and various other DevOps related premium tutorials with our channel membership. If you would have any issues with our channel membership, you can drop an email to us at contact@devopsschool.com, or you can also unsubscribe from channel membership anytime if you don't want to continue or did not like the video. To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the 3D99 plan and grow your skills immensely. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries. We will reply to them at the earliest. Thanks for watching.